very quick. We are in the year, what year we are in? We are in the Gregorian year of what? 2022. And we are still in the year 5,700 and how much? And 82. How much is that? 5,782. How much is that? 22. Okay. Yes? Anybody here? We are in the year, biblical year, 5,782. When you calculate it, how much is it? 22. And we are in the year? Okay. Just to bring some insights into some of the things that God is saying and God is doing. So we are in the biblical year of what? And when you sum it up, it is 22. What does 22 mean? 22 refers to speech, because there are 22 letters in the original Hebrew alphabet. 22 refers to speech. And when you speak about speech, when you multiply or when you add up all the numbers of 1 to 22, you get 253. I wonder what is that. We would perhaps think about that after, but I want you to put your eyes right here on 2022. Can we do that? Okay. We're wondering what God is doing. We are in the year 5782, which amount to 22. And in this Gregorian year, we are in 2022. I'm wondering why these calendars, and what are they speaking about? Yes, there's some kind of synchronization that we're seeing, and we have to try to understand exactly what God is doing. So, if you allow me for a second, if we look at the 20, what does 20 represent? 20 in the Hebrew represents the age that you enter into the military. The military age. You're qualified, and every citizen must go into the military at 20. So at 20, you're what? You move from being a what? A civilian, come on, into a soldier. That's what God is basically saying. It is time that you become what? Militant. Let me say it again. It is time that you become what? Somebody say it again. Militant. Militant to what? Because you have something to do. If you are not militant, you will not do it. And the other thing is this, that if you say, okay, I am 20, I'm moving into the military. What do you mean by that? The first thing when you get into the military, do we have any soldiers here or ex-soldiers? Where? Over there, so come. Yes, sir, let me speak to you a little. When you got into the military, the first time, your first recruit, you had anything to say to your authorities?
Yes, sir.
You could have just spoken to them just like that anytime you want?
No.
Why?
You are under discipline.
Okay. You speak when you are spoken to?
Not all the time.
I love that part. Because we think that we have to speak. The first thing that you do when you become a recruit, they teach you how to shut up. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
I see how he answered? Yes, sir. Because before he went into the military, did you say yes, sir?
No, sir.
We have to learn. 20 is referring to a language shift, a shift in a language. And move from civilian, from operating in one way that you would operate as a civilian, into operating with guns on you. A civilian doesn't have to walk with guns and doesn't have to be thinking about enemy, but the soldier, yes. Your mind changed when you were a boy, before you became military. You wanted to be military?
Yes, I wanted to be.
You wanted to?
Yes.
And what happened? What the change when you got into the army?
Basic training. 6 months.
Is it different?
Very.
You wanted mama?
Couldn't get.
You wanted to go back home?
Yes. But I was in training, so I had to stay.
You had to stay?
No turning back. Yes. Life was signed over.
That's what you did?
For country and people.
For what? So this, your life changed over because of what? Country?
And people.
So what happened when you come into the military? It's bigger than you. So let me tell you, it's bigger than your home. You stop as a civilian, you think about me, and I. As a soldier,
Country and people.
not even yourself, because you made a decision to die.
Die for the flag.
Die for the flag.
Die for the flag.
What do you mean by die for the flag?
It represents the people and the country.
So when you were a civilian, you couldn't die for the flag?
No.
Thank you, sir. So they are training you. They're moving from civilian to military is a different mentality complete from me today. I and I. I and I, I and I, I and I. No, it moved from I and I to who? Adonai. Come on, you mean that one? It's no longer me, I, me, myself, and I. So 20 represents I'm stepping from civilian to what? To military. You need, from the days of John the Baptist until this present time, the kingdom of heaven have suffered what? Violent, what? And the violence, they take it by force. What do we mean by that? If you have violence without control, that's anarchy. But if you have violence under control of a leader like Joshua, you're going to take Jericho, you're going to take Ai, you're going to take the promised land. The military means that God is saying it is time that you come into a place where you will learn order to take the promises that I made to you and make it a reality. Why? If you don't enroll in the army, you will always be a civilian, and if you possess a gun, you will be illegal. If you remain civilian, all you would be doing is praying for help. Yeah, you pray for help. Oh Lord, send me, please. Let the police come here. Let the military come. Oh Lord, please help me. You pray, but nothing happens. You ever called the police for something that you needed help immediately for, and then about 4 or 5 days after or never? Or if you call them and you say where the crime is taking place in your town, they said, you know what? No, we will come there after. Yes. But now you say, you know what happened? I make a decision to become militant. And I cannot become militant alone. I have to sign in. What do I mean? I have to leave where I'm at and join a different people. Why? What do you mean by that? Because we have been procrastinating what we're going to do and what we're going to do and what we're going to do, and every time we procrastinate and nothing is happening because we are civilians. But this year, what God is saying, it is time that you enroll in the army. It is time to change your status. It is time to take what is yours, and definitely you would need imunah. You would need faith. And definitely you would also say, give me this mountain, because you have been there before. It's not something, you're not fighting for something that you don't know about. You have been there, your feet, you have tasted it. But you couldn't fight. civilian. Turn to your neighbor and say, it's time to shift. No more civilian. It's time to fight. For what? For people. For nation. The nation of God, the people of God, it's time to fight. Hello? What's that? Kingdom. It is time to fight. Somebody say it's time to fight. No, you sung as though you never fought before in your life. If you don't fight, you will never have what God said is yours. Let me say it again. If you don't fight, you will never have what God says is yours. You will be, oh Lord, I just thank you for your goodness. Hallelujah. You have to take it aggressively. Move in and take what God says. What God says is yours is mine. So that's the 20 very quickly. And then the 22 represents what? Huh? It represents speech. But whose speech? God's speech. What God has spoken over your life, He wants to make it your reality. Let me say it again. He wants to make it your reality. But you cannot make it a reality if you don't step out from being civilian into military. Why? Because the 22 speaks about speech. How God is going to do it. And not only so, but God's speech moves to action. Why? Because faith cometh by what? Oh. It is connected with God's speech. And God says, and He would decree a thing, and it what? It shall come to pass. Every word that God spoke over your life is coming to pass. That's a 22. But I want to say something. So 20 represents a new generation that God is raising up. A generation of with a different mindset. They are in the church, and they are also in the land. They are in the church, they are in the kingdom, they are also in the land. So what you're going to see this year, we're going to see young people rising up. That's what we're going to see. We're going to see a generation, that generation of 20 saying, it is time that we do something. And they may even overthrow some of the older guys. Hello, there's a renewing that's taking place, and God is saying, listen up, I'm raising up a generation of young people, and parallel to God raising up a generation of young people that's militant, that wants to see God manifest His word. That generation, we're going to also have another generation that's just seated right there. There's a separation that's coming. And we're speaking about not just a separation like that, but even in the nations, we're going to see younger forms of leadership rising up in our nations. Young people. There's a move of young people coming into the kingdom this year. And the question is, are we prepared for them? Are we prepared? Are we prepared for the shift? Because I'm telling you, most of the world governments, they are not prepared for this group of young people coming up. Less than 20, 18-year-old, 16-year-old. We're going to see some preachers rising up that we have never imagined. We're going to see some young people with wisdom that we never even thought they could have had. A new form of militant leadership, different to what we have had before. Leadership is shifting. And in the church, because of that 22, God is saying, I'm going to bring you into the accuracy of my word. Why? We have not been able to do many things because we had a wrong interpretation of the word. God couldn't move. But now we are seeing clearer. God says, I'm ready to move. I'm going to move with you. That is what this 22 speaks of. And speech, that idea of speech. This is so amazing. Can I read something? It was in the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, the first chapter and verse number 6, that says, you have dwelt long enough in this mount. It's time to turn and take your journey. This is the year where persons will have recognized, and you will recognize, that you have stayed in some positions too long, doctrinal positions. Some of you in your marriage, you have stayed in a position too long. There are some positions that you have maintained that have not allowed you to reap the benefits from a God that is generous. Is this making sense to anybody? Are you sure it's making some sense? We have to shift. There's a generation that God is raising up. Listen what happened. The generation that was over 20, they died in the desert. In other words, there's a generation that came out of Egypt that cannot handle the next move of God. They are the ones that fought against the move of God. But there's a generation that God is raising up. And may I put it this way, he's raising up in this house to shake this land. It's one of the things that the Lord said, I'm raising up in this house, Pastor, out of this house to shake this land. I know that Jamaica will be shaken by the power of God. Let me say it again. I know that Jamaica will be shaken by the power of God and will shift, because this is the year that Feltab have decided we are taking this country. Hello, I said we are taking this country. I said Feltab. Did I say Feltab? Did I mentioned Feltab? I got it wrong? I know you people not so excited. We're ready. I said we're ready. I said we're ready. The most amazing thing about this year also, I'm going to finish on this. One of the most amazing thing about this year, if you look at the numbers again, you see 20 to 2. So let's just take 6. Let's remove the 0. What are you seeing in this year? What's that? Is the what? It is not just the time of God, but it's the time of man. It is 6. Yes? And somebody help me. What is 6 in the Hebrew? What is the letter? Vav. What is the letter Vav? The letter Vav is a what? Is a what? What do you call that? A peg? And it's also a hook. So it's a hook to pull down, but it's also a peg to... Yeah. And it also represents the man. That's what represents man. What are you saying, in other words? This is the time that God is going to cause us, a people, to pull down what belongs to you from the heavens and nail it here on the earth, because you have the rights to do it. As a matter of fact, as a human being having this body, God has given you legal rights to dominate the earth. And now he's saying, this is the year that I'm bringing you into the place where you belong as the authority. Somebody need to know that this is their time. This is our time. Last year, you could have said in your word, you could have said it's number 5, which also represents hand. We spoke about authority and all of that last year. But this year is completely different. This year, the onus is on you. Because it's speaking about you. Do you want your position? Do you want to really take what God says? In the heavens, what's in the heavens? Whatsoever you bind on earth is bound in heaven. When you pray that thy kingdom come, what? On earth as it is in heaven. You are the hook to see the thing that God is saying, bring it on the earth, and what? Peg it down. Pin that thing down. This is your time. This is our time. This is our season. This is our year. And this is our nation. And we are taking it back. I said we are taking it back. And those of you who believe that it is the time to take it back, you would say with me, today I seal this with bread and wine. Today I seal it with the bread and wine. And to you that's looking, that you don't know what is it, what are they speaking about here? Today we're saying, because you don't understand, there's a way to understand. The natural man cannot understand the things of the Spirit of God. They're foolishness unto him. But you're turning your life. Today is the day to give your life to Yeshua, to give your life to Jesus. Your life can change if you open your heart. If you open your heart, today would be the day that everything about you would shift. And those of you here, God wants a shift in your life. You're saying, I want to take up that position of being the hook and the peg. I want to take up my position. I want to take up my position. I want to speak God's speech. And I want to see my world shift. I can shift the world. If God stopped the sun from functioning because of the word of one man, can you imagine what he would do with your words? Can you imagine what he can do with you? Because out of this house, because of what we believe, the supernatural begin to flow in a way that we have never seen before. And it's not just in the church. We are speaking on your job. We are speaking in your office. We are speaking, come on the aircraft. Come on, we are speaking in the classroom. Come on, we are speaking in your marriage. We're speaking on it. God will do some things that will baffle you. This is your year. This is your year. Not only God is depending on you, but we are also depending on you. You have stayed long enough in the position that you have maintained. It is time to arise, take your journey, and conquer the land. If you believe that this is so, raise your hands. And you want to seal it with communion. You want to seal that with communion? Would you like to seal that? You want to seal it with it? Let's seal it with a communion. If you're home and you don't have bread and wine, get something. Let's do it. We're sealing it this year. We're sealing it. Come on, we're sealing it. If you're saying, yes, I want it, you're here, I want you to stand. You raise your hand already. Let's identify those persons that are saying, yes, this year, this is my year. This is my year. Yes. This is my year. I'm taking back what is mine. I'm taking it back. This is the year. This is the year for all the teachings that we received. All the teachings that we have received in this house. All those teachings that we received in this house. All the teaching. We declare that they become a reality right now. A reality that the doors open. Come on. Let's worship. Begin to speak to God right where you are. The change starts now.